to part 2 of our introduction to Onshape for FTC video. In this video, we're going to be covering sketches and constraints you can do inside those sketches. We'll cover the bases of different things as well, like in a sketch. You can start here, and I've already selected this top plane, and I've also hidden the front and right plane, the top, just to make it easier. Let's go back to the top, right? The base tools we have is we have a line, very simple. We have a rectangle, so you can click on this arrow to get access to all of them. The main two that you'll use is corner rectangle and center point. A corner rectangle just starts with the corner and like this. A center point rectangle starts with the center and you go toward like this. A circle is the main circle that everyone uses is a center point circle. You just click and you drag outwards and boom. Dimension your circle. There are arcs. There's quite a bit of arcs. I'll cover the 3-point arc first. So you have your first point, your second point, and then you have the center point as if it were a circle. So that's how you'd make your 3-point arc. Your tangent arc, which basically you click a line to make a tangent to, and then you have a secondary point, well, where it wants to be, like this. You have a center point arc, which is you have your center point, and then you kind of drag around that to see how big of the arc you want it to be. The rest of these aren't really used too much, but I will cover the elliptical arc because it can be useful. It's just like this arc, but you can make it an elliptical shape. So yeah, it's somewhat useful. Circumscribed polygons and inscribed polygons work more or less the same. You have a circle, and for a circumscribed polygon, the circle is on the outside. Inscribed, the circle is on the inside. So you want to change the dimensions accordingly. You can scroll in and out for the amount of sides you want. Let's say I want a hexagon. I can just do that. And then I can change the dimensions. Works the same way with an inscribed polygon. Just you gotta make sure that the dimensions are careful. For a spline, how it works is you have lines, and then as you move, it curves along those points. So it's good when you want to have soft, gentle shapes, but you can't constrain those like shapes and curves and angles accordingly because it's a spline. You have text, which is really not used. You have a point, which can be useful in constraining situations. You have the sketch fillet, which is useful if you want to fillet something before you get it onto the actually export it. So it's useful, and then you can just drag it inwards to have the actual fillet already happen. Use can be useful, but it's mainly used when you're editing in context, so we will be covering that in a different video. One of the highlights is a construction line, which you can click on here, and you can make any line a construction. So you can click Q, and it becomes a construction line. Construction line is helpful because when you're extruding something, it does not extrude, and it does not create a bother when you're trying to extrude. But it's really helpful when you're dimensioning and constraining parts, as it can help you dimension stuff, but it does not appear in the actual sketch. The mirror tool is also incredibly useful. To demonstrate that, I'll make a construction line like this, and I'll have a circle here, right? If I want to mirror that circle along this line, I can click the mirror tool, select the mirror line, and then I can select this entity, and it'll mirror it over. Offset can be used, especially in pocketing, where you can have a main shape, and then you can be offsetted by a certain distance. So let's say I want to make this 15 offset. It makes a rectangle that is 15 millimeters offsetted from the main center. Linear patterns are quite useful. Linear patterns mean that you can have a shape go a certain dimension. So let's say I want two like this and two shapes up to make a 2x2 circle grid with 4 circles total. That works perfectly fine. I can just click, boom, and we have it done. Let's say I want a circular pattern. And click, let's say this one, right? And you can have a circular pattern. And it works really well to basically do this. So let's say I want to make this 10 times. you have that line along the circle 10 times. And it's a very useful tool. And so we have the sketch done. I'm going to create another part studio to demonstrate constraints. Let's hide these planes and let's start a sketch on the top. So there's lots of things we can start with. I'll start with some of the basic ones. So let's start with a line, as we know how to use. And we'll use the dimension tool, which is one of the most helpful tools that you'll ever use. You can click on something and then dimension it. Let's say I want this to be 30 millimeters. I can make that. Now, let's say I want to add a point in here. Right? I've added that point. Let's say I want that point to be on the line. I can use the coincident tool to click the point and click the line. And it'll be on the same axis on that line. Now, let's say I want it to be in the middle of the line. Midpoint tool. And now that point will be on the middle of the line. So many different variations you can use this from. You can use it on two lines as well. So let's just say I have another line. Point, and this, and this, and this. This, and this. And that point goes to that line. You have to be careful as you have to use points on a line or any other shape that you're using. Let's say I want to have another line, but I want it to be parallel to this. But whoops, I don't make it parallel. I can click the parallel tool, and these lines become parallel, right? But let's just say that I want to do this relative to the sketch, and let's say I have two lines, like this. And let's say I want to make one horizontal and one vertical relative to the sketch. You can use horizontal, and it'll become horizontal. And if I want the line vertical, the line will become vertical. Now, let's just say I have a circle. But oops, I want this circle to be tangent to this line. Luckily for that, we have a tangent tool constraint. Now this circle is tangent to this line, and it works out great. But let's just say I have another circle here, but I want this circle to be concentric to this one, which means that I want them to have the same center. I can use the coincident tool, or I can use the concentric tool, and boom, that goes right there. There's lots of tools here, and I'll cover just until here, and the rest of these aren't really used as much by me. The fix tool is quite helpful sometimes, so I'll demonstrate that. If I want this to be fixed, it'll show as black and constrained. Click here, and the line is fixed. You can't move it along the sketch. Unlike this, which I can move like this, or I can move like this, right? This is fixed. There's no moving it. So let's just say I have another line like this, and it's added to that. But I want it to be perpendicular. That's where the perpendicular tool comes in. And you can just make these two lines perpendicular. So now let's say I have this, and I want to make a roof shape. So I make these two triangles, but they're not equal. I need these two lines to be equal. The equal tool comes in handy then, and boom, it equals. Obviously it removes this, but let's say you dimension this to like 30. This entire thing will adjust along with it as it goes. Pretty useful, right? And those are the main constraints that you'll be using. Obviously, normal, pure, symmetric, curvature, you might end up using those occasionally, and I will link the Onshape tutorial if you want to go more in depth on those. But for 90% of FTC catters, these constraints do.